Okay, here we're looking at PowerPoint 2.3a, and the instructions for this are very short, very simple little exercise for us. We're going to insert an image that's called PowerPoint 2-3b. It's a JPEG file. We're going to insert it into slide 4, so I'm going to select slide 4. I'm going to come up to Insert, and then select Pictures, and select the PowerPoint 2.3b image file and click Insert. It comes in fairly large, and the instructions are for us to maintain the aspect ratio and then to change the height of the image to 4 inches. Now, maintaining the aspect ratio means that whenever we resize this image, that it will not become distorted, that whatever ratio of height to width that is in the original, that it'll have that same ratio after we resize it. So we might be tempted to come up here to Picture Tools, Format, and then just to change the height here. And in this case, it actually would work. I would change it right here to 4 inches and hit Enter, and the image is resized and it looks fine. I'm going to use Control Z to undo that. The problem here is that you're assuming that the checkbox is checked that tells the computer to make sure that when you resize the image that it locks the aspect ratio. And if you're doing something like a certification test, you want to make sure that you have the lock aspect ratio box checked. So here in the Picture Tools format, over here where you're resizing the image, there's a little quick launch arrow right here in the corner, right below where you change the width and height. You click the quick launch arrow and it opens up the Format Picture pane, and you'll see right here that we have the checkbox for lock aspect ratio. So we can see that it is checked, and then right here at the very top we have the same height and width fields for changing the height or width that we see up here on the ribbon. And we could either come up here and change it, or we could just change it right here to 4 inches. And since we have the lock aspect ratio box checked, then when I change the height, that it automatically calculates the appropriate width for that image so the image does not become distorted. Now I'm going to close the Format Picture pane. The instruction is for us to drag this picture down here to the lower right corner of the screen. And then it tells us that we need to remove the background from this image. So what I'm going to do so I can work on this image is I'm going to come down and zoom in on this image and get it up something larger for us to see. Whenever we have the picture selected, then we can come up to Picture Tools and Format, and over here to remove the background. Now watch what happens to the image when I click Remove Background. The computer goes through some calculations, and the computer here is trying to guess what it is that we want to remove. And everywhere that it sees something that it guesses that we want to remove, it sort of covers it with this pinkish or magenta or whatever color this is that it puts all over the image. Everything that's got this sort of pinkish color covering it, the computer is saying that we want to get rid of that. Well, let's just click up here on our ribbon. Notice that the Background Removal Tools tab comes up. We have 4 options. One is to mark areas that we want to keep. Another is to mark areas that we want to remove. Another area is just to discard all of the changes that we've made. And then this last option is to keep the changes. And I want to click that real quick. Let's just assume that this is what we want. We want to see what the computer has selected. And remember, the instruction here is that we want to remove the background and isolate just the skiers. We want to be able to see the skiers, but none of the background. So if I click Keep Changes, well, now it's not so good. I can see part of her, I see all of her face and part of his, but I don't have any of his jacket or anything. And so when the computer makes a decision about what to keep, it's probably not always the best idea to go with that. I'm going to come back to remove background. I'm just going to hit Control Z to undo this. Now, here we are. This is what the computer selected, and we can see that sort of pinkish color has covered up part of his goggles because the colors are just so close together. Now, everything that is pink here is what the computer has decided that needs to be disposed of. So what we cannot mark any more areas to be removed. We need to start clicking on some areas that we want to keep. So let's click on this plus sign, mark areas to keep. And notice that when we come back into the image that we have a pencil-shaped icon. And I know that I want to keep all of this kid's goggles all the way across to the headband. So I'm just going to left-click hold and just drag and just draw sort of the area. And I've just told the computer to keep all of that area. I can see right up here at the top, there's a little bit that needs to be kept too. I'll keep all of that. I want to keep his jacket. I want to keep his little hood back here. Keep his back part of his jacket. Keep his sleeve. I'm going to keep this part, lower part of his body down here. I want to keep this area over here on this sleeve. I want to make sure that we keep his hand here. Looks like we got all of her in here. There might be some areas right in here with her hair. This is always so hard to deal with around the edges of hair and everything. But it looks like we have most of the boy. And let's go ahead and click Keep Changes. It's looking a lot better. I know that we could clean this up around the edge of her hair here a little bit, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and stop because this is good enough to show you the way it is that we can use the add and remove in order to take the background away and leave what it is that we want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and come to the instructions now, and I'll just zoom back out so we can see this the way it should look. All right, so there's the image. I'm going to select it again because it tells us now to apply a photocopy artistic effect to the image. So I'm going to come back to the Format tabs up here and come over to Artistic Effects. And we're going to find the one that's got photocopy, and I know it's this one right down here. The more you use these, the more you'll drag over and pause and wait for the little screen tips to come up. You'll find where these things are. They'll always be in the same place. So photocopy, and that gives us this image here. Now if I click off of this, you can see there's no shadow or anything behind the boy. There's nothing around where the frame of the image was. I'm going to select this again, and it tells us to apply the drop shadow rectangle picture style. So if I come up here on the picture styles, I know that that's this fourth one. So I'm going to click on the fourth one. And now we can see that behind the boy and behind the girl's head, we get sort of a drop shadow effect behind that. And it makes it sort of look like the characters are standing out. So save your file, of course. And this is going to finish this project. And what you should do is compare what you've done with the PowerPoint 2-3 results file and make sure that they look the same.